as the late afternoon light rolled across the lonely frontier plains like liquid gold spilling over a land older than memory. Colt Madison rode his chestnut horse, sundown, toward the trading post that stood like a weather-beaten island in the middle of the endless West, a place where travelers of every kind came seeking shelter, supplies, or a scrap of news carried by the winds from distant territories. And as he approached, the wooden beams of the scattered stalls creaked in the wind, dust swirling around his boots as he tied. Sundown to the old hitching post carved with initials of forgotten wanderers, never suspecting that fate, silent, patient, and powerful, had prepared something for him that would change the course of his entire life. For tucked between rough-edged traders, ranch hands, and wandering settlers stood a young Apache woman with wrists, gently tied not as punishment but as formal custody, following an unresolved dispute between two tribes. And though the crowd loosely called it a slave market, Colt instantly recognized that this place was more of a frontier, arbitration ground where guardianship was decided publicly. Nothing cruel, nothing violent, just the rough traditions of a land where misunderstandings traveled faster than truth. And yet the moment he saw her, standing tall despite exhaustion, her long dark hair stirred by the dry wind like riverweed beneath moonlight, her copper-toned skin glowing softly beneath the dipping sun, her eyes steady pools of courage, Colt felt something shift deep inside him, something as real as the heartbeat of the earth beneath his boots, because she carried herself not like someone defeated, but like someone holding onto the last ounce of hope left in this wild world. And when she lifted her gaze and saw Colt Madison, the quiet cowboy known to many as a man of fairness and deep honor, she stepped forward with a trembling breath, her voice barely rising above the murmurs of the crowd as she said, "Buy me, cowboy, please," the words not laced with fear or desperation, but filled with the raw bravery of someone choosing survival over silence. And for a moment time stopped, every conversation fading, every gust of wind pausing, as if the entire West waited for Colt's decision, until he slowly removed his hat, revealing the sincerity in his weather-silvered eyes, and approached her with a calm that rippled through the gathering, like a warm wind before rain, asking gently, "Why me?" To which she replied in a voice carrying both vulnerability and unbreakable dignity, "Because you look like a man who would treat me as human, not property. I only seek safety, a path back to my people, or a new life where I can breathe without fear." And something in those words struck Colt harder than any outlaw's bullet ever could, awakening an old ache inside him, memories of his own family lost to tragedy, of nights spent alone under cold stars, longing for someone to protect, someone to believe in, someone to give meaning to the saddle-worn road he had followed for too many years. So without a second's hesitation, he stepped forward, placed a firm hand on the old trading table, and declared in a steady, decisive voice, "I'll take responsibility for her," and the chatter around them died instantly, as a sense of respect washed over the crowd, the tribal mediator nodding in agreement, stating that the woman, Ayana, whose name meant eternal blossom, was now under the cowboy's guardianship until her situation could be resolved. And as Colt removed the loose ties from her wrists with a gentleness that made Ayana's breath hitch, she looked at him with a mixture of gratitude and disbelief, whispering, "Thank you, stranger," while Colt simply wrapped his warm coat around her shivering shoulders, saying, "You're safe with me now." And with that he guided her towards sundown, helping her mount gently before climbing behind her, ensuring she felt nothing but protection. As they rode away from the trading post into the vast expanse of the setting frontier where orange, amber, and rose hues bled across the sky like the brushstrokes of heaven's own painter. And as they traveled, Ayana began to speak softly, telling Colt how she had been separated from her family during a cross-territory misunderstanding, how she wandered for days before being taken in by another tribe, who lacked the resources to keep her, and how she had prayed every night for someone honorable to cross her path. someone who would not treat her as a burden, but as a soul deserving safety. And Colt listened with a quiet intensity, feeling her pain settle into the empty spaces of his heart, like a puzzle piece finally clicking into place. And when they reached a riverbank shimmering beneath a rising silver moon, he set up camp with calm precision, collecting firewood, lighting a warm flame, cooking a small pot of beans and biscuits, and handed her a plate with the kind of gentle respect that made Ayana's eyes glisten in the firelight. For no one had shown her kindness like this since the day she lost her family. And as she ate, she kept glancing at him, studying the way he moved, the way his shoulders carried both strength and sorrow, the way he spoke softly, as if he understood the language of the wounded. And when she finally lay down beneath a thick blanket Colt spread near the fire, she whispered, "Why did you help me?" To which Colt replied in a voice low and steady, "Because everyone deserves someone to stand up for them, Ayana. And maybe I've been waiting a long time to protect someone who needed me." And as the fire cracked and the stars shimmered like scattered diamonds spilled across a velvet sky, Ayana's eyes slowly closed with a peace she had not felt for months. While Colt sat awake, hat pulled low, watching the quiet rise and fall of her breathing, feeling an unfamiliar but welcome warmth bloom in his chest, a feeling that told him this meeting was not an accident but a turning point written in the ancient winds of the frontier. And as the night deepened and the world around them settled into a hush only the Wild West understood, Colt Madison realized that no matter what dangers tomorrow might bring, he was ready to face them, because he was no longer riding alone, because the girl he had rescued carried a fire stronger than the prairie winds, and because somewhere between her trembling words and his steady promise, destiny had woven their paths into one long trail leading toward hope, healing, and a future bright enough to outshine every sorrow either of them had ever known.